The Firebirds Fan Zone podcast is brought to you by Kyle Garman Realtor. Whether you're buying or selling, whether for your forever home or that quiet desert vacation getaway, Kyle Garman and the team at Keller Williams have the experience and skill to make the process simple and convenient. Check them out today at kylegarman.kw.com. Our podcast is also brought to you by DesertDefenseLawyers.com, DUI and criminal defense throughout the Coachella Valley. The criminal justice system is scary and confusing, but relief is just a click away at DesertDefenseLawyers.com, where we've been keeping folks out of the penalty box since 2008. The Coachella Valley Firebirds are bringing the Valley closer together, and the Firebirds Fan Zone podcast is your weekly dose of everything Firebirds. If you have suggestions for guests or questions you'd like answered or anything you want to add, be sure to leave them in the comments. If you like what you hear, please remember to hit that like button for this episode and be sure to subscribe. So if you're ready, here we go. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1.
Firebirds goal! Scoring his 13th goal of the playoff. The captain, number 17, Max McCormick, assisted by number 19, Cameron Hughes. Welcome to the Firebirds Fan Zone with your hosts, David and Kyle.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's strong. And we're ready to rock and roll. We have
here.
another one.
Excited.
Again, like as usual, I have no idea what number this is.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
No.
Because we're sitting here with the one and only
The legend.
Gino LaMont. This guy,
Yes, sir.
how we got him to come in, I have no idea.
A lot of begging, groveling,
Seriously, I think he
and
must have like leveraged something, won a bet somehow. I don't know.
He literally just asked.
Oh well, that,
It really wasn't.
I guess
I
that's all
wouldn't
we
give
had
him
to
credit
do.
for a whole lot of deep research on this. He asked. I said, "Yeah, okay."
Well, good. So as long as you didn't do any deep research, I didn't do any either. So we're just going to talk it out. But first,
let's.
what's going on with that plate right there?
Well, let's start with first things first. Again, our thank yous to everybody out there who continuously supports us, and we're doing the show continuously. And again, thank you for all the feedback. But today we are. Well, I was on my way home, and as you know, we've been featuring some local businesses, and the one that I wanted to really dive into was the Coachella Valley Cookie Company.
Those things look insane.
Yeah, so I did some research on these guys. The great thing about these is they use clean ingredients, they don't use frozen dough, and they have gluten-free options. So my wife's gluten-free, and she wanted me to be sure, hey, make sure they have that option. And they do. So as usual, like we did last time, I think we need to dive in a little bit. And I want to try what we've got is there's a chocolate chip. This is a lemon blueberry. That is a cookies and cream, and this is a sugar cookie. So I don't know which you guys prefer or what you're into.
Really, the measurement of any good cookie is chocolate chips. So
That'd
let's
be
start.
much.
'Cause-
Yeah, let's
And I
just
think
do
I
that.
picked the wrong week to quit carbs.
You're okay. These are low calorie. On
Well, I
on the
think-
days of the show.
I think what I recall from looking into this is it's pure cane sugar and not processed sugar. So
That-
There you go.
And I got to try the lemon blueberry.
All right. Oh man,
Very
Absolutely.
good.
that's pretty good.
That's a strong cookie.
Now, my wife is going to see this, so hey, this is my only cheat on the carbs, but it was well worth it.
These are good. So these guys, again, they're located. Man, that's a good cookie. They're located right there on 111 in La Quinta.
There's some water down here for you too if you need it.
I think I will.
And what was interesting is they have a base, 3 cookies that you can get anytime, but they have a rotating
Cookie of the
menu
day?
of the week.
Of the week. Wow.
They change out 3 different cookies. So I think they had a peanut butter, banana thing, crumble. They got all kinds of different variety of cookies, but they change out. They rotate 3 different types of cookies each week. So when you go in and you don't see the same one each time, that's why. But I want to thank those guys out there, Coachella Valley Cookie Company. These are amazing. Man, that was
I
awesome.
would recommend it. I
100%.
on your cheat day, whatever your cheat day is, head over there.
Heck yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
Let's get into business.
This is the fun part. I love
Yeah.
this part. So, you are
Yes.
a Valley legend since long before
Okay.
I moved here 7.5 years ago.
Oh yeah, you're a new kid in town.
I'm a new kid in
Yeah.
town.
We both are.
The ink is
Yeah,
still wet
a little
on me.
Yeah.
What? Tell us your story, man. How'd you get out here? How did you become you?
The truth about me is so much of what's happened was nothing more than dumb luck.
Okay.
I didn't plan any of this. I didn't go to school for anything that I've done.
Really?
Yeah, just stupid luck. And that's why I'm the worst guy ever to go to like high schools, talk about career paths and stuff, because it's just stupid luck is the reason I'm sitting here today. Once I got the breaks, I worked hard at it. But the truth is like I worked in restaurants out of high school. I went to college for 12 years because I love going to college, but never got a degree. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was there for all the wrong. I like going to class.
All right.
I just didn't like actually doing the work.
So you were like a professional student.
Yeah, I like colleges.
Okay.
I like college girls, and I liked
Okay.
everything
fair.
about a college atmosphere. So I was there till I was like 28 or
What
something.
college?
A lot of them, mostly JUCOs, Orange Coast, Golden West.
I went to Orange Coast.
Santa Monica City. Went to St. Cloud State for a while. Did a semester
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not Orange County at
Not
all.
at all.
No,
So are you a local guy?
I was born and raised in Anaheim.
Okay.
Came out here the first time in '85. I was working in restaurants, and what we did was we worked out here in the winter, and then I went to Gladstone's in Malibu and worked the summers there.
Oh, love Gladstones.
Smart.
Have you been to Gladstones?
No.
On the beach, Sunset and PCH.
I think it's gone now.
That's
Is it
heaven.
gone now?
They keep threatening to close it down, but I just saw it was supposed to shut down like September 11th or something like that, September 15th, and Wolfgang Puck's gonna just level the place and build a restaurant.
Wow.
But apparently the financing or whatever, so they got like a 2-year reprieve. The problem is it's not the Gladstones from then. I mean, back then it was the spot. That was the Lakers Showtime era.
Oh.
Magic would come in. If the Lakers won at home, Magic would go to Gladstone's afterwards.
Were you working when he would come
lots
in?
of times. Oh, yeah.
All the boys coming in hot.
Wasn't a lot of boys. It was Magic.
Yeah.
And lots of company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But
Speaking of cookies.
first time I
what I
met
did there?
Goldie Hawn was at Gladstone.
Really?
Oh, I love Goldie
Her
Hawn.
and Kurt would come in, and at that time they had the 2 young kids with them, 3 young kids, and it was Oliver, Kate, and then Wyatt was the really young at the time.
Well, they still.
They're up at Bighorn.
I was going to say they still reside out here, and they're here full time.
I don't know that that's the case, but I do know they're at least here a lot during the winter for sure.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I hope they come to a game. You know, Gladstones in the 80s had this thing that no one really ever tried before called a salad bar.
Yeah.
Before Sizzler?
Well, they
For
did.
Sizzler.
Their thing was there was sawdust on the floors, barrels of peanuts.
Oh.
Eat the peanuts,
yeah,
throw
yeah,
the
yeah.
shells
On
on
the
the
floor,
floor. Richard Reardon, the old
Yeah.
L.A. mayor, he bought into it when the original owner sold out. Got rid of the sawdust, got rid of the peanuts, put out white tablecloths and cloth napkins and stuff, and ruined the place. I mean,
Right?
seriously,
He
just
tried to,
Yeah.
did like the pantry.
yeah, right. It used to be so great.
Yep.
And they tried to make it fancy, and they ruined it.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so I was in restaurants, and so I would come out here. In '85, I worked at the old Rusty Pelican, which is where the remnants of the Tilted Kilt is. It was that building.
Okay.
Worked there, came back again in like '91. During the LA riots, I was out here
Really?
working at the old Elephant Bar, which is now Lucy and Ricky's or whatever that place is.
Babalou's.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I had some fun at the Elephant Bar back in the day.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Then I had moved to St. Cloud, Minnesota, was dating a young lady who wanted to be in TV news. And it was one of those things I'd never even considered. I mean, those are different.
So no one ever told you you had the voice?
No.
No?
Personality, voice, none of that.
No,
We're
I mean,
like-
you'd use that in waiting tables, right? Because
Sure.
you're selling yourself as much as anything.
Yep.
But nobody ever said, son, you should get into TV news. And so I came out here with the girl. She did it one time, hated it, knew she was never going to go back. But I'd known Karen Devine from her senior year at Cal State Fullerton because I was working at a restaurant across the street from Cal State Fullerton. And so I literally walked into Karen's office one day in summer '96 or something. And I mean, she was a 25-year-old news director and main anchor at KMIR, still with the original owners who had started it in '68, this old couple. And I sat down in her office. I said, I think I want to try, doing TV news.
Well, what made you make that jump?
I don't know. I knew Karen. The girlfriend didn't like it.
But there's something about it you liked.
I don't know. I was tending bar at 32, and I was just like, this wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
I'm at a country club. These guys are all retired, and they golf, and then they start drinking. I was like, Gino, have a drink with us. So I'd have a drink with them. I'm going home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hammered every day.
Yep.
And I'm like, this wasn't
can't
the
be
plan.
it.
Yeah. So Karen
I
looked
haven't
at
heard the downside. What was the downside?
ever
There's a
getting
down-
anything done ever.
Anything after, that
yeah.
time, nothing good happens after.
And so Karen looked at me and she's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. So she goes, well, do you want to just come on in and see what you think? And literally, I'm a 32-year-old intern at that point.
Yep.
Just ripping scripts, which is what we used to do to separate the 4 copies for each of the anchors before, the printers we have today, dot matrix printers. And at one point she called me up and she said, we've got a weekend weather spot opening up. I think you'd be great at it.
No kidding.
And me, because I'm the smartest guy in town, went, no. The weather dork? No, I'm not doing that. No way. And I hung up the phone, and I'll never forget, the same girlfriend's looking at me, and she's like, can I swear?
Yeah, it's a podcast. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, absolutely.
She's like, you're the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever met.
Really?
I'm like, what? She goes, those boxes and boxes of tapes that Karen has in her office, all these people that have gone to school for it, worked on TV news stations in their high school and their college, and they're begging
Yeah.
to get any job,
And
let
then
you
along
said
an
no to
anchor
weather
job.
dork.
Yeah.
You're too cool for that.
Yeah. So I, of course, immediately called Karen back, and she goes, yeah, I thought you'd call back. So
She was probably
This is
waiting,
a
just
smart-
waiting at the
yeah,
waiting by the
just,
phone.
she was just like,
Smart
she
lady
knew.
that you were.
what a break for me, though. But again, dumb luck, right? I'm not
Well,
qualified for this at all.
I suppose.
I've done very little to actually earn it. Karen saw something she thought would translate well, especially with weather, because, where it's all personality.
Yeah.
When you're going weeks at a time where the variations in temperatures are 1 degree hotter or 2 degrees cooler, you know.
got to have.
You gotta-
Yeah.
Fluff it up. Was
Yeah.
that with those green screen days, or did you have like a monitor behind you back then?
We had a blue screen because Mr. Conti, the owner of the station, had come from Hollywood. He was an old TV guy. Talk about a guy with a voice. And he knew from blue screen because that's what they did in movies.
Yeah.
So I was like the only weather guy in America who couldn't wear blue. Anything. So yeah, but it started out with a blue wall. And then by the time I finished the first show, which was awful, just awful.
Yeah, how was the first one for you? I mean, you go from not having that experience. I know you probably have confidence because you're.
No, scared to death.
Yeah, how was that day?
So back then, okay, you have to understand, when I started in 96, KMIR was Monday through Friday, 6 and 11. No 5.
That's it?
No 5. No morning show.
So it's-
no weekends.
we're doing it.
We went dark at 11:30 Friday night. We weren't back on the air till 6 o'clock Monday. I mean,
That's true. And this is no internet, no social media.
oh yeah.
I mean,
so it was. So the reason that the spot opened up is they were going to expand to weekends, and so we did 1 6 o'clock show. But Karen had a full crew: 2 anchors, sports guy, weather guy, 2 reporters going out, photographers. I mean, So we went on at 6. So of course I arrived at the station at like 8 in the morning.
you want to prepare.
Yeah. And all I did was I built the maps because we didn't have a weather system. You got the maps off the AP feed, right? Which was just like a movie national map and then regions of the country. And yeah, I had
Old
like
school,
6
man.
maps.
And you had to just figure out how to do it on your just
Yeah. And you just watched.
no YouTube to check. No,
I did have the Weather Channel. So I would watch the guys on the Weather Channel. So you try to pick up the vernacular and
Do you
stuff like
practice in your living room?
that. Living room, I lapped. I just, I'd sit at my desk and I'd pace around the building, stop, do a weather run through, go sit down. Pace around the building
man.
all day. So by the time I got to the set at like 5:45, my hair's all flat from the flop sweat.
Yeah.
Whatever makeup I had put on, it was long in my collar at this point. And I mean, I couldn't get the tongue off the roof of my mouth to talk.
Is there tape of this somewhere?
No, thankfully.
How sweaty were your hands?
Everything was sweaty.
I mean,
I was head to toe sweaty. But I will tell you, when I sat back down, so you start at the desk, go over, do the thing, terrible. It was just awful. But as soon as I sat back down, I knew. I said, okay, this is it.
you
Really?
Yeah, I knew. I'm like, okay. And then you just work on getting better.
Yeah.
Right? And then, like the next day, no wireless mics then. So the next day, my cable got caught on the chair. I'll
Oh,
never forget
man.
the anchor, Contessa Brewer, diving across trying to get me,
Trying to free you up.
free me from the chair.
No kidding.
Yeah. So that was the second show. After that, things got a little better.
How long did it take you to figure out how and where to point at a blank wall? Like, that stuns me when I find out.
Yeah.
Well, and you're looking at a monitor, like I'm looking at Dave, and then you're pointing
you're like
over
going
here
like
and
this.
doing this thing and having to.
There's a monitor on each side, a monitor below the camera, but also the camera itself is a mirror reflection of you.
Oh, very
so
cool.
once you get comfortable
Yeah.
with where things are and where, more importantly, you should be, then you just kind of get into this thing where the maps are almost really there.
That's
kind
cool.
of in your mind's eye. It's
You
it's sort
just
of there.
naturally
But,
know.
and
Yeah.
but you made the maps, right? You had to pull them from the feed and do them yourself?
Well, not make them. I literally took video from the feed and then gave it to the guys in the control room with them, projected it behind me. But yeah, you get into the point where once you're so comfortable that you're not staring at the monitor and then staring at the monitor, where it's just like back and forth. Pretty soon,
Having a conversation.
yeah, and pretty soon everything.
When did you get conversational? When you felt that rhythm and that groove? When you just weren't thinking anymore?
It was a while,
Yeah?
to get fully comfortable to where first it's nervous. Then you get, maybe it's just a little more anxious. And then it's kind of exciting because, I'm on TV. And then you get to the point where, and I can say this in all honesty, by the last 20 years of my career, the place I was most comfortable in life was on that new set.
So great.
So,
I'm glad we're leading into that because, at what point did we go from just giving us the weather to then now we're going to do news? And you didn't just do news. I mean, you in your career really started to move up. But I mean, when did you first start getting into the news? And how?
Yeah. So what happened was I did 7 years. After a year, we started the morning show. Went to the morning show, and the morning show gave me the opportunity to do interviews.
Okay.
I was working with mostly Susan Hendricks, who's been at CNN now for like 20 years, and she would do the serious interview, a newsmaker, politics, or something like that, and I would do somebody in from the local theater. Somebody doing more play stuff and stuff that was a little lighter, and I found I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
So that allowed me to expand in that. Also, bring out more personality and stuff. And I have a lot of varied interests. I can talk to anybody about anything for 5 minutes.
I believe it.
Which is what those were.
I believe it.
I can fake interest in anything for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then you get to meet everybody in town, everybody that's doing things that are interesting. And so I like that. But after 7 years, they decided not to renew my contract.
Okay.
Can you believe it? And so for 3 years, in between, for a year, I did radio with Casey Dolan on the old M99.5. It was an alternative rock station. Casey had a morning show. He was the only one who called me when I was unceremoniously not re-signed.
What'd you do on the radio?
Morning drive. So Casey would come up with stuff to talk about, and we would just literally shoot the shit. Do what Morning Drive does. Not a lot of whistles and whoopee cushions or things like that, but you try to stay topical, light,
Yeah.
For Morning Drive time stuff. And then after about a year of that, CBS had opened. Because keep in mind that back then there was just the two channels. It was 36 and 42. 36 and 42, KSQ and KMIR. But then the Houstons came along, started up CBS. And I was there a little over a year. About 2 or 3 new news directors at KMIR had come and gone in that 3-year period. And so the new news director said, "Why is our morning show crappy?" And they go like, "Well, because they got rid of Gino." He goes, "Where is he now?" They go, "Well, he's over at CBS." It's like, "Well, can we get him back?"
Really?
And so
Now they're fighting over you.
Love that.
Nice, right?
You gotta
Love
love
that.
so
1 minute nobody's calling, next minute everybody wants you back.
So we have a lunch, like you do, and he says, "Would you be interested in coming back?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What are we talking about?" And he says, "Well, we want to start this. We're going to pay you that, blah, blah, blah." I go, "Okay, well, what are you going to do with weather guy?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, you already have a morning weather guy." He goes, "He'll still be there." And I'm like, "Well, what will I be doing?" He goes, "Well, you're anchoring."
So you didn't even know.
No.
You're negotiating.
I assumed he was bringing me back for the same position that I had when I left.
So they're bringing you in to be the
Uh-huh.
guy doing the anchor.
And had never read a teleprompter other than
Holy cow.
some, little things.
How old are you when all this is happening in your world?
40.
It's amazing what happens at that age.
Well,
I've noticed
it's even older. I was 42. I'd had my
Really?
first kid at this point. Yeah.
Your first kid at 42?
Yeah. I didn't get around to, I was in college for 12 years.
Yeah.
I didn't get married until I was 40. First kid at 42. Second kid at 50.
Okay.
We're pretty sure we're done now.
You sure?
Charlie Chaplin went into his 90s, so,
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
When was the first time you got recognized out in public? I mean, do you have that
Even
recollection
remember?
of the first time of like,
No.
why
This
like
is back when you're doing the weather or
Well, it would have been, sure.
Probably around that time
I'm
frame.
sure. I was always really flattered by it.
It's kind of a bizarre feeling, isn't it? That strangers know your name. They will call your name and you turn and look and you're like you know that they know
I
you.
was
But
always so flattered by it that it never bothered me. I'm not one
Right,
of those guys
no,
No. I
No.
mean, you do tend to look a little better when you go to the grocery store in the morning.
that's fair.
But you also start to realize too. It's wonderful that people recognize you,
Yeah.
and it's great that they watch you and they like you. And very rarely does anybody come up to me and go, you're a real asshole. I won't watch
I'm
that
glad
channel.
I'm glad that doesn't
I'm not
happen.
People
watching
do that
that
to me all the
channel till
time.
you leave. It's happened, but
Yeah.
it's mostly people are
Well,
really
it is.
really nice.
Yeah, if people are coming up and saying hi, then clearly you're resonating and you're doing something good. Yeah.
But then you also realize too, and this is how you keep things sort of in check as far as ego goes, is that nobody measures their life by their local TV anchors.
That's true.
I haven't been on the morning show since 2010, and to this day, I will get somebody come up and go, "Oh, Gino, watch you every morning."
like, no, you don't.
I haven't been on the morning show since 2010. I haven't been at the station
Sorry,
in
but
18 months. But that's when you realize.
Yeah.
They've seen you. They may have watched you a little bit, but they're not living their lives based
Right.
around the morning anchor or whatever. So that kind of any ego that might come along from being recognized is sort of quickly leveled out when they go, "Love you in the morning,"
And you're like,
like,
oh, okay, this is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've done your thing. You are what, semi-retired? I'm going to do my thing, and now the Firebirds come calling. How did that happen?
It overlapped more than that. I was running out of gas. The last 3 years, they had made me news director, and that was 7 days a week, 8 in the morning until really they were off the air at 11:30, and it was COVID had hit, and so they're slashing staff, and you're covering the biggest story of our lifetime, at least up until that point. But it was the same story every night.
Oh.
Every night, night after night after, and it was just so awful because you guys remember that first year.
Yeah.
Every day the death toll's
Yeah.
going up. It's getting worse.
Well, and the fear factor
Oh
and
yeah,
all of
we're
that.
terrified. We're talking to doctors. Some that came to us really early, like before it had gone national, before the president had said anything about it, and he was like, "This is coming. It's going to be bad."
The shutdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he said at least 1 million people was what we were told, and I'm talking October of 2019. Would be 2019 maybe, but it was really, really early. We had this amazing local doctor. He's an epidemiologist,
And he was predicting.
He knew this was coming. He saw it.
Really?
They were already seeing it at the hospital, and he goes, "This one's going to be bad.
Wow.
This is going to be Spanish flu 1919 times 10, which is almost exactly what it was."
Well, everybody compared it to that for
Yeah.
sure.
So, and then, the truth is, again, more dumb luck in my career. The arena story starting to break. Now, it's interesting about the arena story is we broke a story 2 years before that where a local football coach that has a semi-pro team out here.
There's a semi-pro team out here?
Exactly.
He'd
come to me and said, "I've put together a deal with some people in Texas, and we're going to put up a football stadium right where the arena sits today."
Really?
He was working with the Burger Foundation. It was going to be a religious retreat place, so a hotel, a big church, and then football for that team, and then local high schools that may want to use it.
vaguely remember something
got
about
nothing.
that.
This was going to be a huge, huge thing. And then all of a sudden, it stopped being a football thing, and it was going to be downtown Do you remember this part?
I do.
Okay, so now the casino's involved rather than the Burger Foundation. The Texas money, whatever that was gone at this point. And this is the first I'm starting to hear the name Tim Leiweke. Okay, well, I've been around long enough to know who this guy is. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
Leiweke's the real deal, right? I
Now
mean,
we're
he's got
serious.
24 stadiums across the country, and actually all over the world at that point, and he's opened, another dozen since. So you start hearing the name Leiweke, and you're like, all right, this is getting serious. The downtown thing, it was fascinating because so much of sports is doing that, right? They're going back into the cities because way out in the suburbs, it gets to be too far, and people don't want to drive. And bring it back downtown where I can have dinner and go to my favorite bar and then walk over and see the game and then walk back. And I thought, but where it was going to go on Indian land there, it was one-lane roads on all four sides.
And no place to park.
Yeah, and they had no plans because the rules are different when it's tribal land, right?
That's right.
So I was like, and I was good friends with J.R. Roberts in the city, and he's like, the city was all for it, but they were going to have to build a parking structure, maybe a block or two away on city land, right? But even a really big parking structure is what, 2,000 parking spots? 3 if it's massive?
Yeah.
And we need 20?
Yeah.
At
least.
Yeah. So they had 20, but we needed a lot.
10, 15 at least. I mean, with people work there and
So, and then it was like, okay, and then that got a little dicey. Then suddenly, and I don't know how it happened, but Oakview Group, which is Tim Leiweke, and Burger Foundation found each other. And that's when everything sort of fell into place. My dumb luck came along as they were doing the groundbreakings and stuff, and the name had been released, and the logo's so amazing.
Oh, it's
and
great.
The color scheme, and then the Kraken at this point are coming out, right?
Yep.
And everything they're doing is awesome, and you're like, okay, this is going to be unbelievable. So I said on air one night, just going into commercial or coming out of the store, I said, and you're not really supposed to do this as a news anchor, but this is part of what I did. I said, I don't know about anybody else, but I am really excited about this.
Really?
I think this is going to be awesome. And it was just kind of a throwaway line after story, coming up next, Mike's in with the weather, right? I mean, it was literally just a throwaway. Todd Leiweke, Tim's brother and business partner, was watching that night. And it turned out that the two of them would watch us a lot when they were in town because they both have places here. I get an email before I'm off the set from Todd Leiweke.
That's
No
amazing.
way.
Wow.
He's like, heard you on air tonight. Any chance you'd be interested in talking to me, getting to know each other? Let's have lunch. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, dude, I'm 60 years old. I'm 25 years here. I mean, I was fine. I could have done more. I said, but I'd like to be involved in this. If there's something I could do, he goes, this is so typical Todd. Though. He's like, well, why don't we broadcast some games? I go, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
I go, I can't do play-by-play. He goes, no, we got a play-by-play guy. I go, pre-show, intermissions, let's do it. He goes, all right. So we started talking about, negotiating a price, and I mean, I knew it was going to be a cut in pay.
Yeah.
But, I'm
Who
doing
cares?
anchor and news director. But again, I'm 60 at this point.
Yeah.
I got one run left in me, and this is it.
This is a good run.
Yeah. And so they hire me. I wrap things up with NBC. And the truth is, I was the last one of the generation that was making a decent living. Mm-hmm. So they were, one, very generous. They were very kind. And they couldn't get my salary off the payroll fast enough.
Really?
So it was very mutually beneficial for sure.
So it was good for everybody.
It was good for everybody. And then I sort of landed in the old offices off Cook Street there. And, well, it turns out they hadn't really... I mean, they told the president I was coming, but they hadn't really said what I was going to be doing until we opened the place in December. And as far as budget for actually broadcasting games, which is quite a lot.
I would think,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Yeah.
there was some, like any brand new organization, right? And it wasn't like we're the only thing these guys are doing, right? They got the Kraken going, and they got Manchester going, and they had Brooklyn going, and they had Baltimore going, they had Austin, Texas going. And so, we were one of a dozen things that these guys were doing. So they weren't going to be bothered with every little detail other than we want to put some of these games on local TV. Make it happen.
Yep.
Do you have a budget for this? Now you'll figure it out.
Love it.
Yeah.
Don't want labor pains, just babies.
And I am literally was building, and to this day, I'm building rundowns. Now, when you build a rundown in a TV studio, it's on something called iNews or a system like that, where you put in a slug for the story. Then you literally attach the video to the rundown itself, and then any lower thirds you want, as far as, Bob Stevens, Witness, or something like that, that goes in the bottom third. You put all that in yourself, and then it all just gets transmitted to the control room so the guys can put it on TV by hitting buttons. Well, we don't have anything like that. So I had to take a spreadsheet and build a rundown. I'm going to be on camera here. Me and Grant take a one shot of Grant.
So you're mapping it out for these guys.
I'm producing this thing top to bottom.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
And
god.
it sounds like directing.
No. There's actually they hire a production truck, and this year we've got a terrific truck. It cost us double what it did last year, but it's just going to be so worth it. And you guys are never going to see it on TV because you're at all the home games. But the production value is just I'll be honest with you. I watched the first one. It was like watching NHL coverage.
Really?
It really was. They got 10 cameras around there. The lighting's
You
perfect.
you can
Ice
tell the
mics.
difference.
I've watched home games when I'm traveling and I can't come, and I watch them.
Yeah.
It's not like watching Tucson or Iowa or Bakersfield or any of the others.
Yeah, like
it's incredible.
because you could watch all the other games on AHL TV, and you get what you expect for streaming.
Yeah.
Usually one camera, maybe two.
Maybe two.
I mean, these guys, it's tremendous. So they're doing a great job.
But you had to set all that up?
Yeah. Brand new organization.
I guess I never gave it any thought, but that I never knew. Like I thought,
They had it
Gino
all.
shows up, does his magic, goes home.
You'd think, right?
You would think, but
I mean, that's the way it should be. But
Well, no.
no, because I tell you what, I like having a certain amount of control. Like I'm booking guests, and this is where Grant Fuhr is such a genius catch for me. I mean, I had met Grant at the Albertsons on Country Club and Monterey.
Yep. I know where it
You're
is.
walking down the aisle, and only in this town, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You look up, well, here comes Grant Fuhr, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, I know.
Can you throw something, see if you can catch it?
No, I walk up to him, I can say, hi, Grant, I'm Gino LaMont. Thankfully, his wife, Lisa, actually
great.
knew who I was.
Yeah, she's awesome.
He acted like he did, and I'm not sure if I've ever really asked him. I don't think he had any.
Oh, that's even better.
I don't think he had any idea.
That's even
but
better.
But he's Grant Fuhr. He's going to be very nice.
Yeah.
He's used to people coming up to
He's
him
a
all
sweetheart.
his life. Yeah, but this has been going on since the guy was 18. He's used to people going up to him and knowing who he is. So we just started talking. We talked about golf, and then we ended up playing around a couple of times, and I'd see him at celebrity events and stuff. So when this started happening early on, when I was talking to Todd Lywicki, I reached out to Grant. I said, look, we might be broadcasting some of these games. I don't know if we're going to do all the home games, some of the home games, just a few, whatever. I said, would you at all be interested in being my co-host? He was like, yeah.
Was he already set up with Ev at that point?
No, he had never met Evan. None of us had met Evan at that point.
So none of that had taken place yet, okay, so your counterpart wasn't in place yet when they asked you to do your
They didn't even think about
Didn't know there was going to be
So
a
then you're
counterpart,
telling
probably.
me
Exactly right.
You're telling me, if I understand this correctly,
Yeah.
you were able to get Grant to come on and be your counterpart by a run-in at Albertsons.
Well, it was 5 years after the running at Albertsons.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, it was nothing more.
That's the
For
guy.
that 5
You
years, it was
knew.
see him at golf tournaments.
And you're like,
it's Grant Fuhr.
Understood.
I mean, how many Hockey Hall of Famers do you think we got running around the Valley?
one?
Yeah, well, there might be some others that come in and out, but no, my first thought was I'll see if Grant will co-host with me.
Smart. That's so smart.
I mean, I got 56 minutes to fill for every game.
But
I need somebody that knows everything about hockey.
This was his first go at it last year, season 2, right? Broadcasting. He talked about.
Have you guys ever seen clips of his post-game interviews during his heyday in Edmonton in the 80s?
Not really. No.
If you got 3 consecutive words out of the guy, you just walk away because that's as good as it's going to get.
Yeah, he's not.
He made grunting sounds.
Okay.
Monosyllabic answers. Grant Fuhr, and I love you, Grant, but this is true, was the single worst interview in all of hockey.
So then, how do we get him into broadcasting and being the?
Because he didn't just win or lose a game
Maybe
to talk about. He can talk about somebody else's game.
Right, but to do that and be, because I ran into him after the last meet and greet this season.
Yeah.
He was out there, met his wife. He's so gracious, and because we had met last season before, and we interacted a little bit. But I had asked him about that. I said, "Well, how are you doing this season, and how was it last year?" And he was like, I still don't know what I'm doing here, and
a little of this is one, he's getting really good.
He is, yeah.
He wanted in on this as bad as I did.
Okay.
He loves hockey, obviously. He was playing golf, and anybody that goes from playing golf, outside their profession to all the freaking time.
Yeah.
You get to a point where
Enough is enough. Yeah.
And so it was hockey. It was coming here, to which is now his hometown for 13 years. He loves it here. He wanted in on it. He wanted to be a part of it. He was making himself available for virtually anything we asked. Before we opened, we were doing all those events, Oh, here comes the jersey. Here comes the logo.
I remember. Yep.
Meet Fuego. Oh, good. The Birds here.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit because there's something there.
Yeah. And so when I asked him, and he said yes almost as fast as I'd said.
Did he really?
Yes
I was going to ask
he was
how
like,
quickly
yeah,
he said, yeah.
I go, well,
He
we
was
need
in.
it. I said, how much money? He goes, we'll worry about that later. Okay. So, yeah, no. And the thing about Grant Fuhr, what it does for not only me personally, but also the organization, is instant credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because now you get Gretzky, who stops by first season. How many minor league hockey teams do you suppose Gretzky went to last year?
We were all trying
We were
to
shocked.
figure out what he was doing there.
Yeah.
Like,
He thought he got
how
lost.
to get,
I thought he got lost, and he found the arena and was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Right. So you get Gretzky. I have spoken to, we got our people, right? So you got Ron Francis, Hockey Hall of Famer. We had Ole the goalie, Olaf Kolzig, who was an all-star goalie for the Capitals. He was in last year. But Grant knows all these guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, look at Mike Barnett from the Rangers is coming. Do you want to talk to him? I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, his golf tournament, too.
Yeah.
So Bo
That's
Jackson.
a big draw.
My job one night during the playoffs, it was one of those non-broadcast nights early in the playoffs, was during his golf tournament, which he raises money for the Betty Ford Center. And my job that night was to babysit Bo Jackson. Not a bad way to spend a night, right?
How is Bo?
He's really an impressive guy. He's got like 10 businesses going.
Bo knows.
Bo knows.
Bo knows business.
Bo knows for sure.
Yeah.
This guy's a stud.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
I hear he's a really super nice guy,
And
too.
at that point, John Hayden and Andrew Podorowski were still injured. So they were in street clothes that night. And so I had camped Bo in Tim Lywicki's suite. And I went and found those two guys. I go, you guys want to meet Bo Jackson? They're like, oh, yeah. So
They knew who he was?
everybody knows who Bo Jackson is.
Yeah.
So I took those two guys over. And then now Bo's giving lectures. Stay away from the drugs and the women.
Nice.
And these guys are like two of the most mature, non-partying guys on the team. And they're just like, soaking it in.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
to me, Bo. Talk to me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's got to be
It was
the
great.
coolest
So,
thing.
but that's what Grant Fuhr brings, right? Instant credibility for me, I think for the organization. Suddenly TSN, right? Toronto Sports Network sending out Christine, their top journalist for the last 30 years, Christine Simpson, Craig Simpson's sister. Craig Simpson, of course, played with Grant, so he's known her since she was 15 or something. So she comes out with a whole crew from Toronto to do a story about Grant Fuhr doing doing color commentary and hosting an in-studio show. The last guy on planet Earth anybody thought would be doing this. And so that's a whole feature. NHL.com's out here. They want to talk to Grant Fuhr. We get national and international coverage because Grant Fuhr is a part of this. And if you think I'm not riding his coattails just as far as they're going to take me, you're wrong, because I absolutely am going to do that.
It's a long trip from the weather wall.
That's the cool part about your partnership in that is because you're bringing credibility from your background and people know you here. And then so and him and I have actually, it's kind of funny because our counterbalance is really interesting. So when we started to do this, we have a lot of the similar traits, and yet we're very different in a lot of areas. And so when I see you guys out there's a sense of that as well. I mean, even obviously personality wise, but again, what he's bringing to the table, what you're bringing to the table, and then yet when you sit together, it works.
Well, the thing that I try to do, because I know hockey pretty well. I grew up in hockey. All my family's from North Dakota.
Did you play?
I did play. We lived in Chicago for a couple of years. I was the kid from California. I had all the catcher's gear because I played Little League Baseball. I mean, we weren't kids that had gear. It wasn't that kind of
So
neighborhood.
you're like Goldberg the goalie.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Yeah. And so they go, oh, you got catcher's gear? Okay, you're the goalie. That I couldn't skate. So I played on frozen ponds.
Oh, wow.
Just outside Chicago wearing catcher's gear.
Oh, my word.
So, but like my grandfather coached Legion, both my uncles went to college and hockey
So
scholarships.
you know hockey.
Yeah, it's just my parents got the hell out of North Dakota, and I was born in Anaheim.
But you went to St. Cloud. That's a hockey school.
Oh, yeah.
Like
big
a
hockey
big
town.
boy hockey
and those
school.
are great games, too. St. Cloud State's fun to go watch. But my thing is, look, the town is brand new to this.
Yeah.
The fan base is brand new to this. Yes, we've got a lot of Canadians, a lot of snowbirds coming in from the Northeast and the Northern Plains, but a lot of our audience isn't going to know. And there's a great story. Something that's considered sort of poor form that we still do, but we stopped caring, is booing when the other team scores.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
That's actually considered poor form.
Really?
You know, Canadians very polite. You've
Nicest people.
Yeah, you've scored
but-
on us. We're not going to boo. We're not going to be happy about it, but we're not going to. But we're
we,
booing.
We do.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first time the other team scored on Joey, he thought we were booing him.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. No, I could see that.
And so Joey said to me, he goes, "Are they going to boo every time I give up a goal?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "They were booing me after I gave the goal." I go, "No, Joey. They were booing the fact that a goal had been scored against us."
Yes. It's not you. We
it's
don't
not you,
hate
Joey.
you.
It's not
So
you.
what I try to do is ask questions, and some of them very, very basic, especially the first season and the first few broadcasts, real basic questions. Tee it up for Grant. Let him knock it out of the park. I don't need to be the smart hockey guy. I'm not competing with a guy that's been on skates since he was 4. Right? Who's played at the highest level.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to try to act like I'm as smart as he is about hockey.
Stay in your lane.
He knows everybody. He knows everything. You can ask him about an ECNL goalie, some kid that's 17, just still in high school. He knows about him.
Man.
He's done background searches on him. He's checked this kid out to see what he's got. He's watched film. I don't need to compete with that. And it'd be ludicrous if I even tried, right?
Right.
So a lot of it is me teeing him up. My thing is to keep the show on time, on the tracks, right?
Yep.
And then just teeing up Grant.
Beautiful. Well, you do a great job with it. I mean, again, watching, I've seen you guys on TV doing what you do. I was fortunate to sit with you guys, and
it was fun.
that was a fun experience. That blew my mind, by the way. That
Time goes by fast, doesn't it?
It
I
does.
tell you 5 minutes, you're like, oh, that's a long time. And you look up, it's over.
Yeah, it was a blur. It was a blast, and but to be on that side of it was definitely different. But to sit with you guys and have that conversation was really fun. And you do your energy, your I don't know, just the way you guys are with each other. And then I've watched you interview other people at that table, and yeah, it's there's something special there. You guys have a chemistry, you do, and it works.
Yeah, and we're both learning. Grant will tell you, he tries to play it down like I still know what I'm doing. He knows what he's doing. He's very good. He's getting better all the time. It's like everything else in his life, right? Mm-hmm. He's going to keep getting better.
He's a competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but he had opportunities. He did some in-studio stuff with NHL TV and stuff, but he didn't like it.
Okay.
I think he wasn't ready for it. It was maybe too soon after.
What's
his career.
different about this, I wonder?
I think he was more ready. Just at a point in his life, like, okay, I'm more comfortable with the idea of doing this. And, we're minor leagues, right? There's a learning.
Are we, though?
Yeah, well, there's a learning curve for sure, though.
Yeah.
Like, I still get pissed every time the Kraken take our players.
But
That's
and
the
they
job.
They did it recently. I know.
We are
Yes.
only foster parents.
I know. And funny because Troy Bodie, the hockey operations guy for us, I happened to be walking past my desk yesterday, right as Ryan Winterton and Shane Wright news was breaking, and I'm like, God damn it, Troy! Why don't they leave us alone?
Right. Well, I know. Yeah, our team's just gelling. We're getting going.
I know. So, and he just, he's very patient with
what
me,
they
like
do.
so many people are. It's like, that's what we're here for. This is what we do. You do know these guys all want to be up there. I go, well, I know they want to be up there, but we really want them here.
And we've talked with Cole, and we've had Riker in the chair before, and we keep telling those guys, and I know he does over and over.
Yeah, look, we love you, man, a lot. But we would rather have you there than here because that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just not true.
We don't want Joey back.
There's no. What are you nuts?
I do not. I want him to. I want to see him
I know.
hoisting the cup. That's.
Yes.
Believe me, I am sad.
I'm with you. The Calder Cup. It will be so great.
Yeah.
You can hold it with one hand.
Yes, of course, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And it's really fun now to watch Kraken games.
Yes, it is.
And we see our guys.
Yes, and that's the joy It was funny because being from the area, I'm from, obviously I've talked about that, but being from that area and then to have that connection, and then here I am sitting here, and I'm sitting where we sit in our section 106. Shout out to 106. We watch them play at our arena, and then now to watch them where they're at, and there's a sense of pride.
You had Riker Evans on your show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you're going to see Riker Evans in Seattle.
We agree.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, we talked repeatedly.
Riker, Cole, Kale. We're not getting attached.
We had Tim O'Brien.
Yeah.
He was recently a guest on our show.
He took my chair. When I left NBC, he's in my chair.
He's a good guy.
Actually, they flop swat.
He's a good guy.
But
Tim's
great. Tim's great.
He was great with us. He's great here. He's great at the arena.
Well, and that's the thing too. You start to find out. One, what I really enjoyed last year was the things I never thought about when I went into an arena. I'm meeting the people that do the work. Like last year, we had a young lady named Kristen Thompson who was doing all the in-house stuff, right? I've been to 100, 200 games in arenas and stadiums. Never gave one thought to who was putting together the pregame
Kristen was
show.
great. Yeah,
who's doing the ribbons? Who's doing
Yeah.
the in-between? Never gave it a thought.
Yeah.
And now I see this person running around, and we've got a new guy this year who's just amazing.
Yeah. What's his name?
Ron.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out Ron. Yes. Production's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And every game he's getting better.
Absolutely.
And every time he says, "How was it tonight?" I go, "You got to play Country Roads. You got to play Ring of Fire."
Yep.
There's certain things
job.
that these guys.
Good job.
Yeah.
But you got to time Country
you.
Roads
You can't do
to
it on
when
a
the
short
puck
break.
drops
So
for the
we
chorus.
We got to
You gotta
finish out
time
the
it.
chorus.
Well, here's
yeah.
the thing. So you can't do it in a regular break. It has
No.
to be one of the TV timeouts.
That's right.
Which are a minute 40.
Okay.
Right, and then you can get well into the song so that we can finish it after the puck is dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
There's a timing factor to
Yeah.
it, and we talked
Yeah,
about
you gotta,
that.
You got to
Yeah.
time it just
if you
for
try to
puck
squeeze
drop.
it in a regular stop and play, you
No.
don't get far enough into the song.
No, that's
No,
right.
no, not at
So
all.
we're learning, Ron. Good job, though.
But that is unique to us. You know that, right?
Of course, we talked about it. if
The
you watched the show.
finishing of the song, I don't know that anybody's ever seen any arena do that.
And
It was an accident.
It started by accident.
So that was the thing is we were there, and then the night that happened, and I mean it blew our minds.
It wasn't. Who was it? It might have been Kristen or whoever was the director, right?
Kristen at the time.
She's play whatever they chose. They had like two or three songs to choose from.
Yeah.
Because I like just pick that one, and they played it, and it just happened to end
Right.
for the chorus.
Yep.
When the puck dropped and the whole arena, and then that was
we finished
set in
it.
stone.
And then Jason Hernandez was our very first guest, and he had talked about that moment as well because it became part of our culture. And he said we started scoring after that, and he thought that's our good luck charm. So then from now on, we were going to play that song every single game. And of course, the arena picked up on it. We had another fan on here, Rob Kelly.
We have so many stupid superstitions.
Yeah,
You know,
that's hockey though. That's hockey.
And we
man.
grabbed it fast.
There's a young lady who works there named Rebecca who does all our social stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she's
Becky.
our,
Oh, Becky. Oh, yeah, Becky's great.
Right?
Yeah.
So last year when the playoff starts, she has fully loaded tater tots before the game. We win the game. So we're like, you got to get them again. Fully loaded. Okay. Well, we won like 19 postseason games because this girl's eating
That's
fully
a lot of
loaded.
carbs.
I mean,
Yeah.
by the last half dozen games, she's just
sick
like
of 'em.
she's choking them down.
She's done with
but
it.
She
But-
has to.
Yep.
She knows she has to eat them.
Well, and it's weird because I think it was maybe game 2. I was not in my seat. No, I had sat next to. I gave my seat up for my buddy because they were in town from Washington. I had her sitting in my seat, and we went down like 2 to 3 goals. And no
Yeah, you
joke,
gotta
I'm
move
getting
seats.
nervous,
Yeah.
and she sees a look on my face, and she looks over at me. And she goes, "Do you want to sit in your seat?" And I said, "I kind of do," because I got really just superstitious. I sit in my seat, so it's 12, which is great. I sit. 30 seconds go by. We score. Another maybe minute goes by. We score again. No joke. Our entire section says, "Kyle, you will never move again." And I have to
Oh, and
be
he
in that
showed up
seat.
at the wrong suit one night, and we lost.
Hold on, Bill. Before you start going down
So that
path,
was your fault?
No,
Yes.
that was not the
It
blue
was.
suit fault. That was
wore
not
the wrong suit.
That was not the blue suit fault. Okay, it just happened. We won last night, and I was wearing the blue suit.
It's a different season. New
Understood.
season.
The blue suit's a loser?
No,
Oh no, only in
no.
the playoffs and only last season.
Not
It's
true.
all fresh slate.
Not
now.
true.
All right.
Okay, I do have a more winning record with the orange suit, though. There is that factor.
All
That's
right.
true.
This is something I've come to realize because, like, if we lost in the playoffs, I wouldn't wear that shirt again, or I would wear the. It turns out that what we're wearing and where we're sitting or what we eat may have little or nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
If you say so, man. Yeah.
So you're
Now,
telling me
I don't have any evidence.
That's true.
that making sure to pee before each period starts had nothing to do with it.
No.
Not going down to the tunnel and high-fiving the players
That's
had
not
nothing
true,
to do
though.
with it.
They lost every time we went down there.
Yeah.
That's why we don't go down there
No, we
anymore.
don't go down the tunnel anymore.
But that was last season.
That
So
was last
we had a
season.
superstition around it
Yeah.
each time we went down.
I know. Believe me.
I don't know why, but we do. We get, and we're not the only ones, obviously.
No,
but-
hockey is a very superstitious sport, and I only ever played bar league, and I still put all my stuff on the same way, wore the same. Like it's
weird.
It's weird. We had Ed Heathouse, who's one of the off-ice officials, played his whole life. Same thing.
Yep.
So, and I'll bet Grant would tell you the same thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, Grant's part of the problem.
Yeah.
So let me ask you
He's
about
always checking to make sure Becky was eating her tots every night.
what about December 18th?
December 18th.
The very first game, first
Yeah.
home game.
You know, what was that like for you? You know, you guys were there. Did you broadcast that night?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, that was the opening show. Were you nervous that night, and how did you prepare? What was that day and night like for you? When we finally had an opportunity to unveil this beautiful arena,
Yeah.
we finally get to see our home team. The fans finally get to see their team. They get to see, we've like to talk to the players. They got to see their fans finally because they've been on the road. They've been in Seattle for so long. What was that like for you? That whole night, that experience?
Truth be told on this, the production company we had last year, again, we didn't realize the difference in the quality between, say, 10 grand a game and 20 grand a game. I mean, you would think, well, of course it's better, but I don't think we realized how much better.
Okay.
Factor of 10 grand.
Right. So, I mean, my whole career, I mean, that station's been there as long as I've been around, you know. So the cameras were just there. The mics were just there. The lights were just there. They just were.
Sure, you don't think
Yeah,
about it.
Not my thing, right?
Right.
So when you're producing a show like that and there's issues, so-and-so's mic's not working, I can't hear the director, I can't hear the producer, I can hear Grant, but Grant can't hear me, I can hear Evan, but Evan can't hear Grant. So what happens is on air it looked okay because I've had to get through technical problems before. You just keep going.
Yeah.
It's not like
you can't stop.
You can't stop, and the worst thing you can do is go, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not hearing, you know.
No.
You can't do, unless, you know, in commercials you can yell at people and stuff. I kept pencils around because the photographers were so enamored with what was going on. I wasn't getting the camera shots I needed, so I'm literally like throwing pencils
kidding.
going, you know. So the first game for me is not a real fond memory.
Well, let's get outside the production part of it, though. I mean, what
Well,
was
that's
it like?
my only. Keep in mind
That's
this,
true.
That was the only thing I was really doing that night.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, you spin and watch the game, and it was fun, but
you were dialed in
I was spending
on the
most of periods running back and forth.
So it
in
was
the
more
truck.
frustrating than it was.
Yeah, it was a struggle that night.
Okay.
I watched it several times after the fact and realized it wasn't nearly as bad for the viewing audience as it was for me. But you can see Grant and I, we can't hear the third headset microphone. So I'm interviewing a guest, and I can't hear his answer.
Oh, gosh.
And any good interviewer, and you guys will, I'm sure, figured this out by now, a good interviewer has maybe a list of questions or ideas of where they want to go with the interview.
Yep.
But you don't want to be married to that.
Yeah.
Your next question will most likely be in his last answer, right? So if you're really listening,
Yep.
that is your next question.
That's right.
I couldn't hear him.
Oh, man.
So I'm just looking to see when their lips stop moving.
And then you're just going
to
to fire the
to
next
move on.
question.
Yeah,
You're
and then
not
you have no
gonna
choice.
piggyback off
so
of
he
what
could have
he's
literally
saying.
said,
Oh, man.
you know, I assassinated Kennedy, so I'm so really honored to be here tonight. And I would go like, so what do you think of the new arena? You know, because I couldn't hear him. And so it gets frustrating. It looks fine on TV.
Right.
But the technical part will make it for my blood pressure was up pretty high that night.
And Tim said the same thing because he said his mic kept clipping, and then of course the mariachi band, they had an issue. There was a few things.
Everything was brand new.
It was all new. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but there was
I mean, it was like we had rehearsals and stuff, but then we found out when like all our stuff would work perfectly with the truck and the pre-checks at say 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, but then they would fire up all the in-house stuff. And then they're all going through the same circuit boards. It's about heating up. So our mics would start to drop, or IFB would start failing. And so we've had to figure out that they can't wire in the same, I don't know, wherever they plug that stuff in, a place that the in-house stuff does. So, there was some times of just trying to figure out what worked and what didn't and what we can do to get around it. So the first couple of them were a little challenging.
Okay.
As the season went along, though, and we began to fall in love with our team, how did you balance professionally broadcasting a game with being a fan?
I don't make a lot of bones about the fact this is a hometown broadcast. This is not TBS. I'm not going all over the country. Half our audience is not rooting for the other team, right? I know who's watching. It's Firebirds fans.
That's right.
And so I'll tell you, Grant and I, after Game 7, I had 16 minutes I had to fill while they skated around in the cup, while they posed on our ice.
Yeah.
And you can hear me.
How sickening was that?
You can hear me and Grant just saying things like, this is tough to watch. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose on your home ice.
Yeah. And
it's another thing to lose 3 overtime games.
There are too many tough things about that loss.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the truth, and this is hockey, right? 3 games with Tucson, 5 games with Colorado.
Yeah.
5 games with Wranglers.
Calgary, yeah.
6 games with Milwaukee. And then, of course, 7 with Hershey. We could have lost at any time.
Absolutely.
Tucson could have knocked us out in that
was
game
insane.
3.
Which should not have gone to game 3.
No, it shouldn't have. But it's hockey.
It did. It's hockey.
And it did.
And you're right. So
Colorado,
many times could have been over.
Couple of decent bounces. Colorado knocks us out. So the fact that we lost 3 overtime games in a best-of-7 series because of a lucky bounce here and there wasn't like especially in Game 7.
Well, we didn't play bad either. I mean, we were in it. We fought. It's not like we didn't show
Game
up.
7, we were up 2-0.
Yeah.
Torinsky gets a breakaway. He buries that. We're up 3-0. It's a whole different game.
That's a different.
Now they have to change the way they're playing, which will open them up, and the chances are they don't catch us.
That's right.
But he makes that save. And as so often is the case, a big save turns into a rally.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, it's 2-2.
And
that's what it was.
One bad bounce later, and here we are.
Here we are.
But I think we've made it clear that nothing bad happened, right? It sucks and it's sad, but what a great run.
I got to tell you, though, in a weird kind of way, and I know this is horrible to say.
Not. I think
I
know where you're going.
Been said.
Yeah.
It's almost better.
We've said that.
Because had we done it all the first season,
where do you go?
No place to go to
where do you
down,
go?
First of all.
Exactly.
Because we're going to find out how really hard it is to make that 5-round gambit into the finals, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen every year.
No.
We're going to get knocked out by Tucson in the first best-of-3 round. We're going to get clipped by somebody in the second or third round. It's going to happen.
You're right.
It's hockey.
You're right.
And look, if Rocky wins in the first movie, there's no sequels.
Right.
Yeah, where do you go from there?
So there's no place to go but down. Really left everybody wanting more.
Yeah.
In a strange kind of way. I mean, would I have taken the win? Yeah, of course. Would I like to have a champions patch on my?
Oh, it would have been
yes,
great.
I would have loved it.
Sure.
But we didn't. And I'm not sure that's the worst thing that could have happened.
Yeah, I think we made that point. I can't remember if it was with Tim or
everybody that's
everybody
been
that
in that
sat
chair.
there.
Everybody chair was like,
well, I mean, because it was true. He made a good point about, where do you go from there? And I'm of the mindset like yourself where players have to play with a chip on their shoulder.
Sure.
There has to be that sense of urgency somewhere. And not to say that the guys would get complacent. I'm not saying, and Disco Dan does great about, and Jessica gets everybody, and everybody there gets everybody prepped phenomenally well. But how do you get them to, without, you win it, and then it's guys who, to do this again, here's what we need to do, versus this season where it's
also, but you're right, but it's a little different at this level because, 1, only 14 of those players are back. 2, they're playing their asses off because they want to go to the show.
Sure.
They're not messing around. As much as we'd love them all to stay here for their 10 or 15-year career, nobody's playing hard to stay here.
That's true.
They're not playing. They're not playing because the Calder Cup is their dream growing up.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yes, when they're playing in their basement in the dead of winter, they were not pretending to carry around the Calder Cup.
There are a handful of them that do know that this is their shot. Yeah. And Lindy talked about it. Cole was mentioning that he felt bad for a couple guys who knew that was going to be their last hurrah. They wanted to win it for those guys.
Sure.
And
Matt Tennyson and stuff.
Exactly.
Tenny Wichko.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some guys, even Jesper, because I didn't realize Jesper was going to leave the country. But
right.
So yeah, would I've loved to seen Tennyson skate just once.
That
around
would have
with
been.
That cup
I
over
think
his head.
that's the other side of the coin. But I'm with you. You have to stay hungry. There has to be.
We also might be polishing the turd. I mean, who are we kidding, right?
That's fair.
Maybe this is our way of coping.
It is what it is,
Yeah,
right?
we do what we do.
That's why we drink.
Yeah.
Do you have taking the season one in its entirety? Do you have one fondest or most memorable moment from that first season? Because we're done with it. We're wrapping it up. We're getting our minds now fully into season 2.
Of course.
But let's, we got you here. What
Season 1, it's Gretzky. I mean,
really?
Yeah, there's just like, I'm sitting there in the office and Grant and I's desks are like attached, so we're facing each other. And Gretzky comes walking in, and he's with Christine Simpson from Toronto Sportsnet. And he's like, "Where's my jersey?" So we hand him a Firebirds jersey with a 99 and Gretzky on the back. Throws it on immediately. You got anything you want me to sign? Yeah, there's about 50 things in the conference room there. Signed everything. Him and Grant talking. He had what Wayne calls a Canadian coffee, which is a coffee cup with beer in it.
Note to self.
Yeah, I know of the Irish coffees, but
This is a Canadian coffee.
Canadian
It's
coffee.
a cup of beer.
Real good.
And you're like, it's freaking Gretzky. And he posed with everybody. He posed with Fuego. I mean, he was just so amazing. And I'm not sure that our audience, other than maybe the Canadians, fully grasped
I agree.
what's just happened.
No, I agree. Him
This
being
was-
in the building was
Messi just walked onto the field, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we're talking about.
You're
here.
right.
Or Pele even.
Yeah.
Just walked onto the field.
Yeah, yeah. The magnitude of him being in that place, I think you're right. I think there was a fraction of the people that really felt.
But the
Yeah,
ones
like-
that did, right? The ones that
they couldn't
knew
believe it.
that they were in the presence of greatness. And that's not being overstated at all. He is the greatest
great one.
player, not only to have ever played, but I think who will have ever played.
That's pretty special.
I cannot think of
I don't think it's an overstatement to say that he saved hockey in the southern United States.
for sure.
The Kings were done. I mean, I grew up in L.A. where the old joke was you'd call the forum up and you'd say, "What time's the game tonight?" And they'd say, "What time can you be here?"
Yeah, right?
I mean, you could get ice seats
Wow.
at face-off.
Yep.
I mean, they
No
were
kidding.
putting 7,000-8,000 a night, maybe. Excuse me. No, he saved L.A. hockey for sure.
Wow.
I mean, I was in L.A. at Gladstone's when Gretzky came. And all of a sudden, everybody went from going to Laker games because Magic was on his tail end of his run.
Sure.
Showtime Lakers were dying quickly.
Yep.
And Gretzky comes to town. All of a sudden, now you can get any Laker ticket you want, but you can't get a freaking Kings ticket to save your life.
Wow.
And that's where the celebrity started going.
Yep.
And as you guys have discovered, once people see hockey in person, they're hooked.
That's
You
it.
have to be.
Yeah.
It's true. I was. I mean, I saw my very first game was a Kings game actually in LA about 5 years ago. And I was center ice. And I walked in and I felt the chill of the ice. I saw everybody dressed up, the music, the show. And then I saw, I mean, I was in. After
Yeah.
that, I was done. I was done.
If you're enjoying this episode as much as we enjoyed doing it, please remember to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to hit that subscribe button too. And remember, turn on alerts so you never miss an episode. And last but not least, take a moment to share the Firebirds Fan Zone podcast with your Firebirds family and friends and anybody who loves our birds as much as you do. As always, the Firebirds Fan Zone podcast is brought to you by Kyle Garman Realtor. Whether you're buying or selling, Kyle Garman and his team at Keller Williams have you covered. Visit him at kylegarman.kw.com. And by desertdefenselawyers.com, DUI and criminal defense throughout the Coachella Valley. Attorney David Gibbett has been working hard to keep folks out of the penalty box since 2008. Now, let's get back to it.
Done. I was done.
And that was the one thing, too, because Tim and Todd talked about it a lot. He goes, we just got to get him in. We just got to get him. Now, everybody thought it would work. And we had hopes it would work well. But I think even the most optimistic person never dreamed that what's happened would happen.
Well, winning helps.
Winning was phenomenal. The arena's just stunning.
Man.
And it's built so smart with everything lower bowl except for the luxury seats around the top.
Smart.
You know, it is brilliant. It's funny, too, because my whole thing is the first time you take somebody, get them down by the ice.
Yes.
Let them see how big these guys are, how fast they are, how hard they hit, how hard that puck is slapped.
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, when you're watching a game and boom, right in front of you, there's nothing like that, right?
That's why we love our seats.
Right. But as you become a more sophisticated watcher of hockey, you'll notice the Canadians are at either end.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be above the glass
Yes.
at one end or the other because they want to see the plays develop.
Yes, they do.
And my wife, who's from Portugal, I took her to one hockey game at the Bismarck Bears, which makes the Charleston Chiefs look like sophisticated hockey operation. And so she'd been to one game, and she's just hooked, like crazy hooked, but she wanted to get up higher. So this year, our season tickets are actually drink rails on the second level.
Okay.
And she loves it up there. One, she says the food's better, but I
The
don't know
purist,
about that,
and I ran into. I talked to a gentleman today about this, and he's been watching hockey since 1940 something, and his season tickets are above the glass, kind of in that corner pocket where you can see he wants to see the whole thing develop.
Yeah.
You know, for myself, I like being.
Well, you like being in on it, right? You feel more a part of it.
Yes,
right?
I love that experience.
Versus observing.
Yes,
right. You get
yes.
distance, you're observing.
Yeah.
But when you're, and it's funny because I was sitting with Fred Rogan last night. Unbelievably, Fred Rogan and his wife had season tickets all year last year.
Okay.
Because he was stepping down at KNBC, and like everybody in LA, eventually you're coming out here.
That's
and
right.
They got a place and stuff. And so I'm sitting with Fred Rogan. He's on the glass, on the penalty box side, so kind of catty corner from where you are.
Yep.
And I hadn't been down there in a while, you know.
It's fun.
And it was just like,
it's fun. Yeah, I love it.
This is great.
My favorite part, my wife had never been, and the first night I was watching her reactions a lot because I knew what was coming. And again, when they check and they're coming at you and the puck gets slapped and you see the boards bend towards you. And I love watching newbies who sit in front of us now, their reactions. It's almost like I equate it to being like at an amusement park or at Universal Studios when you don't know something's coming and all of a sudden, you get that jump scare. Or you're in it. That you're having that experience with everything that's going on. Plus you get to see their faces. You see them, John, the smiles and the kind
Start chipping at
the
each
little
other.
stuff. Yeah, the little stuff that's going on. And that's
You're right, but it's two different experiences.
It is absolutely
right?
two different experiences.
One you're a part of it, the other one's more observing. But I hadn't been down there in a while because I'm on the observing level, and
have fun.
Yeah, I kind of missed it. I gotta tell you. But then it goes into the corner, and you're like, God damn it, I can't see what's going on.
The only drawback. We had my wife and I talked about moving up so we could see, but we balanced it with we like to feel I don't mind craning my neck in exchange for a good smash against the glass.
And I'll tell you what, I happened to be down there last year with some friends, and it had moved down into like the second, third row. It was in the corner. But it was when Cameron did the flip between his legs.
Oh, my gosh, that was incredible.
And so this is their first hockey game. And so here comes Cameron. He does that crazy shot. And I'll never forget, I looked over at my friend, first hockey game. He was just like, what the hell was that? They can do that?
Right.
It's like that every night.
Right.
Yeah, come on.
But that was the same game. Ty Cartier had the first hat trick ever in the arena. I think we won 6-2.
That was
6-2. It was a great game, especially for your first hockey game, right?
Heck yeah.
It was amazing.
Every game, though, that I've seen in there, I've told Dave this and multiple people, I don't think I've ever walked out of there like, oh, that was all right.
Well,
Every
when they
game,
lose.
well, even when they lost, it was a fight. I don't like. There's never been a major blowout overall. There's always, always.
That's true. We've never really got our asses handed to us at home.
No, that's what I'm saying. And
I
so
don't know
if
if
we
they ever
did
did on the
lose,
road
it was
either.
always
I
a
don't think so.
dogfight,
Yep.
and they were always in it.
Yep.
And then we've been to overtimes. There was shootouts, and I mean, there was just so many great games that we went to. I'd leave there every night. Because I've been to basketball games, I've been to baseball games, and I've been to lots of football games. And there's times you walk out just kind of defeated, or man, I could have stayed home for that. I've never felt that way going into that arena.
And there's things to be said too, right? I mean, I'm a lifelong Dodger fan. Now, I was born in Anaheim, and my dad would take us to Dodger games. But when you're a kid, you're in the car for like 5-10 minutes. All of a sudden, you see a stadium. Oh, we're here. He's like, no, we're not. Now, back then, frankly, you could drive from Anaheim to L.A. in 40 minutes, so it wasn't like now where it's a 3-hour excursion.
Oh, man.
But I could never understand why he would just drive past the closest team to go to the Dodgers. And now, having been to both stadiums, like, oh, I get it now. Dodger Stadium is way better. Everything about it's better. And so, baseball, truth is great in person, but it's the experience.
Yeah.
It's very leisurely. You get some dogs,
Yeah.
peanuts.
Yep.
You're going to be there for a few hours. Even with the speeding up of the pitchers, it's still, you're going to be there a couple, 2.5, 3 hours,
you're
right?
long 3 hours.
Yeah, but that's fine,
Yeah.
right? Because you're at the baseball game. You're
You're
looking
hanging out.
around,
Yeah.
You listen to the music. It's
You're
great.
right. You're right.
Football, I got to tell you, I mean, it's fine going, but if you want to actually see the game, TV's 100
I like
times
it better
better
on TV.
It's just
Yeah, no, I
they got
agree.
20 cameras on the field.
Yeah.
You're going to see and it's like.
But
plus,
you've never
it's
been to a
so-
Seahawks game, so therefore that's an experience.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna advocate for it. It's an experience.
Yeah. Well, Seahawks.
Anyway.
Hey, it's fair. I've been a Raider fan since I was a kid, so the last 20
boy.
years has been pretty rough.
Have you ever been on probation or
Yeah,
no? Just,
that's a different episode.
I've done time. No. No, when I was a kid, because it was Daryl LaMont, the Mad Bomber, but they were always like the pirates, the outlaws. And,
Yep.
I'm 10.
Yep.
So this is what I liked. So I've been a lifelong Raider fan, and then I had the privilege to get to know Coach Flores a bit. And he took me to one of their last playoff run before they went to the Super Bowl, got their asses kicked, and haven't seen sight of it since. Mm-hmm. But I went with Coach Flores to Oakland for the playoff game against the Titans. And you're walking through the parking lot there for the tailgating. It's like something out of Thunderdome. I mean,
real.
it's freaking
Yeah.
terrifying.
Oh, it is.
But Coach Flores comes walking through with his 4 Super Bowl rings, right? And this part, Coach, hey, Coach, hey, Coach. And all these guys that look like they literally just got out of prison to come to the game. And they're just like, oh, look at there's Coach Flores.
They turn into 12-year-old
Oh,
kids
yeah,
all
exactly.
over again.
So I just like tucked in behind him.
Heck
You
yeah.
know, this guy. So, I mean, football, yeah, it's an experience, but
But you're
not-
right. No, on
it's-
TVs,
yeah,
I do
yeah.
enjoy it better.
Basketball,
It's fun.
it's fine.
Yeah.
I have a hard again, growing up on Showtime Lakers, I got a hard time watching today's game.
Well, it's a different game. You're right. I agree. It's not. I saw a lot of the '90s basketball, and that's what I grew up with back.
Yeah.
When it was the superstars were superstars, and they stayed put, and there wasn't this moving around. And
But it's also a different game. One, they travel like crazy. It makes
Yeah.
my head explode.
Yeah.
It's 3-point shots and slam dunks.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And which is funny because when the Globetrotters came here, I was sitting there. I'm like, I used to really love the Globetrotters. Now, granted, Meadowlark Lemon and Curly Neal are dead, but I'm like, but then I realized what the Globetrotters had done, which made them fascinating, now makes them just like any other NBA game.
team,
Is
yep.
3 shots, slam dunks, and they clear out one side.
Yes.
Right? So it's the same damn game.
Yep.
Only they're not
You're
as
right.
good, frankly, as the NBA players.
That's
you
why a
know?
lot of
So-
people gravitate towards college basketball because
but
it's more purity.
hockey, there's the TV camera will never be able
I agree.
to keep up with the speed of the game. And there's so much going on behind the puck,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the camera's got to stay with the puck. Meanwhile, we're getting caught in a line change. Quick outlet pass. Suddenly it's a 2-on-1. Well, on TV, you're like, well, how the hell did that just happen?
Yeah.
But when you're there, you can see we had a bad line change, right? Somebody wasn't paying attention, or he left at the wrong time, or a bad ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, our 3 guys are skating off, and the other guys haven't got on yet, and they're just going right past them.
TV can never do hockey justice. There's no way.
But, and this is one of my things too, where I want to eventually broadcast all of our games on local television, is once you're a fan, you'll want to keep up with the team.
It's true.
Even if you can't get to the game that night. And let's face it, not everybody can be season ticket holders. It's,
Right.
it's not crazy like, going a Rams season ticket holder. You got to mortgage the house.
Right.
But, a family of 4.
Oh, it adds up.
$20,000.
It adds up.
I mean,
It adds.
I
Depends on what
couldn't
you're
do
seeing,
that.
but no, it adds up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they'll go, half a dozen games a year, maybe
Mm-hmm.
more, maybe buy one of those mini packages where, they get a really good rate on that.
Yep.
Because the truth is, take a family of 4 to a movie is $100 a night now.
Oh, it's insane.
least.
More than that. Yeah. With
and you can go to a
popcorn.
hockey game for that.
Can
Yeah.
you measure the local ratings when games are aired?
Oh, yeah.
And what are they?
Regular season games were as good as the best local newscasts, which is really the only thing we can compare it to, right?
Okay.
It's local, it's live.
Yeah.
Right? So we were right there with the local TV stations. I won't say which one we were beating and which one we were close to, but then when the playoffs came, we started seeing numbers that in my 25 years in local news, we never saw. Ever.
Bet.
I mean, and then by that last 7 games.
Oh, forget about
including
it. Everybody.
The AHL feed that we were putting on, which was crap, those numbers, games 6 and 7, I'm talking 13 and 15 in the demo, 25 to 54. Wow. They measure 3 ways, right? It's 25-54 because that's a whole thing about.
They're the ones spending the money.
Not here, though, right? Not
It's
in this
true.
town.
It's true.
But I guess the theory is once you're in your 50s, if you're a Tide shopper or you buy Toyotas, you've already picked. You're a Coors Light guy. I can show you all the Bud Light commercials in the world. You're a Coors Light guy.
Yeah.
25 to 54, you're still deciding whether or not you like Tide or Gain. But once you clear, so that's why they want that audience. So I get that. Then they measure households, which is, how many houses have that on. You don't really know who's watching. But that'll give you a sense of,
paying attention.
who's at home. But then there's a thing called sets in use. And that number is interesting because that includes sports bars, 2 sets in the same house, one TV, could be 2 people watching, could be 10 people because what you generally do is you double that number. And we're talking almost 30,000 people watching a game in an arena that only holds 10.
Wow.
And I think in Game 7, at some point, we had what we figured would be roughly 50,000 people watching.
No kidding.
In this town. In hockey at the end of June, by the way, all the Canadians have gone home, so it's no Canadians.
No,
this is all locals.
It was everybody was paying attention. Yeah. It was the hottest thing. You couldn't go anywhere without somebody talking about it.
What was great about the playoffs, especially after we love them, our friends from the Great White North had to go back, which they have to do. I guess it's exactly 6 months, right?
Keep their insurance benefits and whatever.
That's right.
The locals discovered you could walk up, get a really good seat, skip the Ticketmaster charges.
Yep.
And so we started getting between 800 and 1,200 walk-ups a game. So
smart.
Yeah, we'd sell 8,000 tickets and get another 1,000 or 1,500 walking up.
Yeah,
It was
Kyle Sarah
unbelievable.
talked about that too, the attendance and the snowbird effect, and then how
we
the locals
panicked
came
because
in.
that first. Do you remember the Tucson? The first
Oh,
Tucson
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
There was 4,500 people there.
I know.
We were like freaking out, like, oh crap.
Well, we were like, is this really going to be?
Yeah.
This
Is this
can't
what
be
we're
right.
talking about?
Last night was a Wednesday night, and the place was
It was
pretty
packed,
well
baby.
packed.
Love seeing that.
All of our home games so far have all been over 8,000.
I believe, and I think that's
and
going to be
10,000 the first night.
So I was asking before about measuring the ratings because if you've got those numbers, that
do.
it seems it's easily justified, cost-effective, profitable to broadcast every game. Am I not reading
Well,
that right?
here's the thing. So selling TV ads is a different animal from what a gentleman named Rich Franklin does for us, which is sponsorships. And he's done an amazing job. We got big names in there cutting big checks for us. And the support for businesses and obviously individuals in this town, like nothing we've ever seen. It's been amazing. So far we've been doing is like, okay, well, if you buy a dasher and maybe the ribbon and the marquee out on the interstate and maybe something in one of the suites, we'll throw in some TV commercials too. So it's what we're getting to now is because so many people want their business associated with the Firebirds, is we're starting to sell blocks of just TV commercials. We got 12 games this year. We'll sell you these blocks. We're getting a really good rate for it. And so if I can get to the point where we're selling out every broadcast game, local TV is never going to make money, right? This is not the NFL. I'm not broadcasting to 25, 30 million people, right? But I can close the gap. And the more I close the gap, I think the more games you'll see. Like maybe we'll do 20 next year.
Well, I was loving to see how much we're being broadcast this year. I mean, that was great.
Yeah,
that's
we
fantastic.
were 10 last year. Well,
Not that we're watching it because we're there.
Yeah.
but-
We're there, yeah.
Well, in the playoffs, what we did was the first home game in the first rounds. But then by the Calder Cup final, we did all 7.
Oh, you did them all.
Yeah.
Well, we were at that point being televised nationally. I think. I mean, there was people in Florida. that
NHL
were-
Network was picking us up.
Yeah. Root.
Root
We were
picked
the
us
only
up.
hockey on, his own hockey
Yeah,
live.
that's true.
That's right. It
Yeah.
was after
we
the
were
Stanley
the
Cup.
best show in the house.
And it was such a great story. right?
Well, and that
oldest team in the AHL versus the newest team.
Why in the hell did not ESPN pick up on our story and what
I don't know,
was
but
going
Cameron
on?
Hughes' shot made top 10.
I know, that was incredible. And that should have really put some, I don't want to get into all that, but I think ESPN maybe blew it on that deal because when it comes to sports and when it comes to things like what had happened, I mean, that doesn't come along very often. I mean, it's lightning in a bottle that happens. Yeah. And so to not have it on their radar and tell the story about it, at least have some awareness around it. I was really, really shocked because it was
somebody on Mad Dog Sports in the morning before Colin Cowherd comes on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name all of a sudden, but he at the end of his show he has his lock of the night. Right, because they talk a lot of gambling and stuff like. So he's like, okay, here's your lock of the night. First year Coachella Valley Firebirds are going to win the Calder Cup tonight against. And I'm like,
wow,
what? Going, what?
Okay,
this guy's out of New York, and he's like his lock of the night. And turned out that didn't work out, so he may never pick us
he was
again.
only one bad bounce away from being right.
At least he was bringing it up.
But so yeah, there was lots of national, and then if you count Canada. International attention that we've got that no minor league hockey team gets ever.
That's true. No,
hell,
that's
the
true.
Arizona Coyotes don't get the attention we get.
I know, but it was such a unique story about this brand new franchise and doing what they did in the playoffs, how they get round after round, doing what we did. Now we're at the Calder Cup. We're playing the longest running franchise.
I didn't really think about it at the time, but you're right. Though I'm kind of surprised ESPN.
It's a story, and they cover everything.
Fox Sports too, for that matter.
Exactly. So I'm off that pedestal. I'm done. Can I do have a question since I'm still on it. What is with you and Fuego? What is the deal?
Well,
it's a love-hate relationship. Is there? Do you know who he is personally? So then,
my desk is 5 feet from his. So, yeah. Oh, it's personal. No.
Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
Why does Fuego have a desk?
Well, actually, I got a picture of him being outfitted in his elf outfit for the holidays. So, he's got to have a place to put his stuff.
I guess.
Okay. So is this
a
like
nest, if you will.
Is this like a Jim and Dwight situation where your desk mates that don't really like being desk mates?
The truth is one, it's funny.
No, it is. It's great. I love it. I love the
and we started.
banter.
It was at the casino that it started.
Oh yes.
And
yes.
So once you get a couple of laughs on that, I'm going to keep playing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep.
I loved it.
But he's so great.
He's amazing.
He is so great. I'll tell you. We did the Pride Parade, 2.5 hours in 90-degree heat. He's in that costume.
Man.
And
doesn't stop.
He was fried. I mean, it was rough. It was rough on all of us. And none of us were wearing these suits. The next morning, I'm dropping my son off at Oliphant Elementary School, and the principal, who's a season ticket holder, is like waving me over. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? He points in, Fuego's already there, surrounded by about 100 kids screaming, yell at him. And I texted him the night before at 8:30. I go, how you feeling? He goes, Fuego said, I'm starting to feel better now.
Oh, man.
And yet there he was. 8 o'clock in the morning, and he'd already been there.
That is incredible.
Fuego is, and I would never really, it was one of the things I didn't give mascots a lot of thought, you know? What do I care? But now, every time I see some sad guy in a costume, like my daughter's at Utah Tech, and so I'm going to her soccer games, and they got this guy in a buffalo suit because of the Trailblazers, and he just looks miserable.
Right.
He's just walking around, and then you see Fuego come out, and he's so physical and jumping.
There's nothing miserable about that guy.
He's all energy, and I love that. Yeah.
And he, as much as anything, has made the Firebirds what we are to this town.
Yeah.
People love him. Kids go nuts over him.
Yes, they do.
And I've done half a dozen events with him at schools, and then yesterday, as it turned out, my son's school, and they go nuts. They go.
Well, he's amazing. I mean, Fuego is just, his energy. But again, that's the magic of what this whole thing's been about, where it came down to the production, because we've touched on everything. We've touched on, again, Jason Hernandez calling it, calls each game amazingly well. We've
I
got
loved it on the Day of the Dead when he was doing the Spanish.
Oh, that was
I love
great.
that. That
Yeah.
was great. Everyone was like, he should do that every night.
like that's a lot of work.
I don't know how good his Spanish is because
And it was not very good.
He
It was
seemed
not-
to struggle on occasion.
Yeah, it was not very good.
There-
For
yeah.
someone named Hernandez, it was not very impressive.
Yeah, he's fourth, fifth generation, so.
It was so good though. But again, everything from that end to the production to having you guys to the mascots, even to the
Whoever designed
merchandise.
the Kraken logo and color scheme
Yeah,
and the Firebirds,
Brilliant.
the way it's just
they do such a good job.
so amazing.
It's easy to buy into, and I was nervous about that too because I'm like, oh man, here
Well,
comes this
remember
franchise.
some of the names that were bouncing around?
Yeah,
I
I was nervous. I'm
Yeah.
like, is this gonna be lame? Is this gonna be one of those things where
It could have been.
it could have been so bad?
Yeah.
And yet now it's the coolest thing that people want to be a part of. Obviously a winning team, but it just all felt like we've been doing this for so long. And like you said, night one was a hot mess.
Yeah, and it was
Nobody really
By
knew
the
what
way,
they were
that was
doing.
11 months ago.
11 months ago.
We're not even a year into this thing
That's
yet.
right. And yet it feels like we've been doing this for a while
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
especially
And,
showing up.
and you guys have been in this town long enough. Every night, it's like a high school reunion.
Yes.
Because you're going to run into your doctor, your
Yep.
dentist, your mechanic. It's just like every night you run into these people, and now you see them night after night, a lot of them, but you still say, "Oh, look at you!" Is this
I
your
love
first-"
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a small town get together every night, and ultimately, this is still a really small town
Yes.
because the year-round residents were still only a couple, 200,000-300,000, right? And so when you go to a game and you see a bunch of people, like the other night when it was La Quinta High School night. I mean, that was
Those
great.
kids were fun. Those kids had a good time.
That was a
So the
blast.
high schools are loving it. The kids love it. I got to tell you, it's been beyond anything I ever imagined it could be.
And you're only 10 minutes from your house, 15 at best.
yeah.
I mean, it's right stinking there.
Yeah.
Location can't get any better. I mean,
it definitely made a small valley even smaller.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think was brilliant. What do you think about what are your thoughts and predictions for this coming year? Let's get the past from the past.
Depending on, so they've got a lot of injuries already in Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle's off to a slow start.
Yep.
Two things that usually mean you're going to see more movement this year than you did last year. Last year they stayed pretty healthy and they played well. And we still, Ty went up, Jesper went up, John Hayden went up. I mean, and Joey was up and down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's what we're here for.
That's gonna happen.
I know.
We gotta be prepared
So
for that.
it's hard to
As
make
much as it hurts.
bold predictions, right? I mean, I was really, really looking forward to watching Devin Shore play. And I don't know, I think maybe he played opening night. I'm not even sure, but he was gone.
Yeah.
And he's up there. I don't know. We see him again this year. He
Probably
may
not.
He may never. When the guy comes in with 500 NHL games under his belt, it's a pretty good chance he's going to leave. So before the season started, Grant had looked over what turned out to be pretty close to the final roster before they took Shore to Seattle, and he's like, "I think these guys are going to be better."
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I have
and
heard
then
that.
he goes, "Then Chris Drieger is an unbelievably good goalie."
Yes, he is.
Which is why he signed the contract that he did. And got hurt.
Yep.
When he came back, at this point, Joey was pretty well established, so he didn't get to play much. And Grant will tell you, my daughter as well, who's a soccer goalie, confidence and rhythm is like 90% of the job. So when you're only getting out there sporadically, you're coming back from injury, so you've been off for a while, you're still not sure if your body can, it's tough to play well.
Yeah.
And so he struggled at times.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, these first 8 games this year, if you had any doubt that this guy was an NHL level goalie,
No, he's looking
he's-
good.
doubt at all.
He's looking strong.
Another thing too, don't be surprised if somebody comes calling for Chris Drieger. I mean, if somebody wants to give Seattle some draft picks or a player that they need,
Well, that I hope
know?
does not happen.
Yeah.
we all hope. I know.
Yeah. We need to
But
stay.
That I
That's-
hope not.
We got to stay
But
consistent.
as well as he's playing, like they took Dustin Wolf up finally in Calgary.
Did they really?
So we won't have to face that sumbitch on Saturday.
Oh,
I'm
good.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That guy was.
I
solid.
want
See,
him
so
to
it's
have his
okay
dream,
when they
too.
take their good
Yeah.
players up.
They
yeah.
can go.
No, but that guy just owned us last year.
Yeah,
He was
well,
unbelievable.
except
Well, we
in
beat
the
him in
playoffs.
5. Yeah,
One
yeah.
bad bounce.
Yeah, in overtime.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That was probably the biggest moment. Of
Yeah,
last year.
we could
The
easily
Calgary
have lost that
overtime
game.
win was probably the.
That
Yes,
was so
if there
good.
was one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and Polarowski's goal with his feet.
With his whole body
Yeah.
off the ice.
He was parallel to the
levitating.
ice.
Parallel.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Potsy.
I mean, come on.
Potsy does that.
Come on.
So, yeah, and So those two moments really stick out in my mind because that was a big goal too.
Huge.
So how do I think this team is on paper at the start of the year? Everybody who's smart that I respect said they're going to be better.
Man, I hear that, man.
And there looks like like last night. Last night was the Wednesday night game against San Diego.
Yep.
For whenever you're watching this.
Yeah.
I noticed they were doing different things. They were trying different things.
Sure.
They're
And by the
working
way,
new
San
stuff out.
Diego's demonstrably better this year.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we slapped them around every time
Yeah.
we saw them last
Yeah.
year. This is a good team this year.
Yeah, they looked a little different, and they
Anderson's
came
gonna
out,
be-
and it feels like the home games that we've been watching. We've got a big target on our back, so it
better
feels like
believe.
everybody's showing up, and we're getting everybody's best.
Yep.
Because they want to embarrass us in our house.
Sure.
They want to take
'Cause
us
we
to.
did it all last year in their house.
Exactly right, and so
Yeah.
they want to start doing that. Yeah, you can feel that energy when they're showing up. Or Ontario did that. They came and they showed up and they gave us their best, and
Yep.
but it wasn't a blowout.
No. So how do I think the team's going to do? I mean, we'll make the playoffs. But in all fairness, 8 out of the 10 teams do. There's a lot of participation ribbons, apparently,
Yeah.
in the Pacific Division.
That's true.
So we'll make the playoffs. Of this, I don't have a lot of doubt. Will we win the division again or come really close to winning the division again?
Yeah.
Bakersfield. Yeah, unless people keep getting hurt in Seattle.
Okay.
Unless somebody comes calling in the
X
NHL
factors.
and wants a goalie. I mean, that's the thing, too, right? If your guys are playing well, other teams are going to want them.
It's true.
The NHL is going to want them. And that's
Yep.
what we're here for, is to get them ready to go up, as heartbreaking as it is for us.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they go up to Seattle. I don't want them going other places.
No.
Right, because if
You
Seattle
know.
gets knocked out of the playoffs, they'll send them back
Then
down
they'll send them right
for
back
us.
down. So that's why we just keep it, I guess, next man up.
Yeah.
And we did a good job of that last year. We were pulling people from different places, and they came in ready. And then there's a culture. Dan, Disco Dan gets everybody, and Jessica and all those guys, get them ready to play Firebird hockey.
And I'll tell you what, Ryan Winterton's a great example.
Man, oh man.
We didn't get him very long.
We saw him early on and said, that
We
guy's
spotted him,
special.
Him
Yeah,
and then
spot.
Morrison with his brace last night.
Oh,
you
man.
knew that kid was going to be special.
Yep.
I still think we haven't seen the best of Melanson. I
Okay.
think that's still to come. Student each is, oh my
Student H.
Well,
yeah.
that's
There you
that's
go.
a story of a guy from Texas who goes, "Oh, I want in on this."
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And when that guy decides to kick it into that fourth gear,
Yep.
he leaves everybody else 2-3 yards
It's
behind
amazing.
him. Oh, my God.
So
and because he's skating around normal, all of a sudden he
So
just hits the
fast.
gas. You're like, whoa.
Gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, with Student Each and Morrison, these guys can play hockey.
Yeah, they can.
And there's some good kids we sent down, too. Robertson may come back.
Robertson, that was the other guy.
Robertson,
He was
he'll
another
be
one.
back. We'll see him
Yeah.
again.
And
was
he's
another
playing really well in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, right? I mean, we'll steal from Kansas City, piss them off.
Yep.
Seattle steals from us, piss us off.
That's right.
It's just business, not personal.
Yep.
And that's the thing. And once you, so it's hard to predict a season, right? Because you don't know.
Yeah.
If we were
But
going to
there's-
finish with the same roster we started with, I'd say, yeah, we're going to win it all.
But
we
are
don't
yeah,
know.
we won't look the same come April.
No.
Yeah.
But you're right about last year. Who knows who steps up?
Yeah.
You know?
What are you looking forward to this season? Never mind how the team's going to do. Who can tell? Anything can happen. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I love broadcasting the games, that's for sure. And I'd like to do more. We're doing 12 this year. We really should be up at 20, 25.
Like it.
And then ultimately, I mean, I'd love to be able to say we're going to televise every home game.
That'd be great.
Because at that point, then you might as well put the road games on too,
Yep.
and just take the AHL feed. It's crap,
Yeah.
but at least you can follow the team.
Yep.
You know, you get on either our own channel someplace,
There you go.
or get a broadcast partner that'll allow us that much airtime, and it's
There you
just
go.
Firebirds TV.
There you go. I love that.
Yeah.
The only AHL team to have their own
Yeah.
station.
And by the way,
network.
my paycheck would stay exactly the same.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, I'm willing to get paid exactly what I'm paid now for 12 games to do 36. That's how much fun I'm having.
I love it.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, when the games are not being broadcast, you're still in the arena. You're
Yeah.
still doing your thing.
Basically, you guys know Gina Rotolo.
Sure.
She's a vice president of marketing and communications.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. Whatever she needs from me.
Yeah.
If it's, if babysitting Bo Jackson or, the anthem singer is lost in the parking lot. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Grip and grin. We got some folks coming in. Can you say hi? So, it's originally my original title with this company was brand ambassador.
Okay.
And so on the not game nights for me, a lot of it's just that.
Okay.
Walking around, saying hi to people,
Yeah.
especially now because it's just you see the same
Sure.
people game after game. Like, hey, how you doing?
Heck yeah.
And it's like the greatest job I've ever had in my life. It really.
So you're
is.
having the most fun.
Oh my god.
Love that.
Oh man.
You know what? Everybody that sat in this chair said the same thing. Everybody that we've
If I
had.
would have known there was careers like this in sports, I probably would have looked into it earlier. But again, it was like news for me. It's like, oh, somebody else does that stuff. I'm not an athlete. I mean, so
But yet here we are.
yeah.
So they could just as easily have pointed to the sports desk as the weather wall, and your path would have been different.
Yeah. I mean, I did some sports on occasion. Sports.
Although if Karen Devine was a dentist, you'd be an oral surgeon by now.
There
so.
you go.
No, I'd
know.
still be taking college courses while waiting tables at 60.
Well, glad it happened the way it did.
Me too.
How about some rapid fire?
Yeah. So you haven't watched the show.
I have not.
Okay, but will you?
I've never watched any podcast ever.
Okay, so will you be listening moving forward? You don't have to watch this. You can.
I'll
listen.
watch at least one episode.
Yeah, you will.
No, I think there's gonna be another one coming up that you might.
I'll
actually-
watch Grant too.
The-
Don't let Grant see what I said about him.
Okay, well that's not on us. That's on him. So what we do a segment to end the show is just a quick rapid fire
All right.
question segment. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
What's your go-to food at the arena? The concessions. Is there a go-to that you like out there?
The nachos, I'm told, are the best on planet Earth.
They're amazing.
They're pretty
My,
good.
my
Yeah,
daughter and I
pretty
actually
good.
just had some last night.
First time?
No, for her, yes, but we've had them before. She came in from Costa Mesa last night. She goes to college out there. She loves Riker Evans. I'm going to embarrass her, and Riker scored. Good job, Riker. But we went and got nachos.
You do mean on the ice, right?
Yeah. Not
Yes.
with your daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Gino was
Hey,
thinking
you're
the
the
same
one that
thing.
Gentlemen, I said
He was
scored
thinking the
on
same
the
thing.
ice.
No, you
Where
didn't.
else?
You
Yeah.
said scored with my daughter.
Yeah.
That's what I
I
heard.
didn't say scored with my daughter. Did I? Did I say that? I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
you said daughter and scored the same
Scored, you know, and
sentence.
so
That's
we,
close enough.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
as
you guys
father
fill
and
in the
daughter,
gaps
that went
wherever.
south fast. I will say this about the food. I know it's rapid fire, but sorry.
Sure.
I still think we need a really good Pink's hot dogs in there.
Ooh.
We
Yeah.
need
Good call.
We need a really good
The
Dodger
one that
dog.
snaps when you bite
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
that one of those.
Okay.
And if I were the king of the arena, which I'm clearly not, I would have fresh made popcorn someplace.
Just that smell.
Yeah.
There's
Like
something to
Disneyland.
it. For
I mean,
us-
they pump that all over.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never eat popcorn in Disneyland. Oh,
Garlic
no.
fries up in Seattle is the big go-to. Like you get near the arena and you smell garlic
Garlic
fries.
fries.
They're amazing, and it
I've
fills the
been
air.
there, but I don't remember smelling the fries.
Oh man, it's go back. All right, so what's your go-to meal in the Valley? What's your spot? Restaurant meal?
There's a lot of places I
Yeah,
really like. Most recently, took our daughter to Farm.
Farm?
I love Farm. Downtown Palm Springs and La Plaza.
Oh,
I love Farm. If I'm going to be in Palm Springs for breakfast, Cheeky's is amazing. But the truth is, even though she's off to college now, just don't go out that much anymore.
okay.
I just soon have people over at the house.
Nice.
We bought the house for a reason, right? We built
Yeah.
a big backyard and pool and everything.
Heck yeah.
So you know what it's like out here. You'd rather people over at your house,
Yeah.
sit outside. It's so beautiful.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I like that. It's a great answer.
I will tell you though, we did lose one of my favorite restaurant people recently,
Oh,
Michael Castelli.
Castelli.
Michael and I had been friends for 20 years. We're about the same age. I would only go in once a year because the guy would pick up the check every time. And when a guy picks up the check, you can't go twice.
Yeah.
That's
Because now you're just mooching.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would tell him, Michael, he was like, why don't you come more often? I go, we'd love to. But you pick up the check every time, and I
now-
can't. He goes,
yeah.
well, you can't pay when you're here. Well, I go, but then I can only come
not
once a
gonna
year.
come all the time, yeah.
I would. I'll come more.
Because then you become that guy.
But he was such a sweet, just
Oh,
such
that's
a
too
great
bad. I'm
guy.
sorry.
And he passed a couple of months ago now, and is going to
Mm.
be missed. So at least once a year, you'd find us at Castelli's.
That's awesome. What's on your radio come game day?
Game day?
Yeah, some of the guys that get certain music to pump them up. I mean, is there something that you listen to, to get you ready?
I'm a sports talk guy,
Awesome.
so I'm listening usually. Like in the morning, it'll be Colin Cowherd for
Yeah,
sure.
he's good.
But yeah, I don't need music to get pumped
Sports
up.
talk. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
in your mind, you're kind of singing in that zone, so I get that.
Little
That
bit,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. What's a treat yourself day look like for Gino?
I will tell you, and this period of my life just ended. my daughter was playing academy soccer since she was 11, and weekends her team was in Norco. So 5, sometimes 6 days a week.
It's a lot of miles.
180 miles round trip. 3 practices a week,
Jeez.
usually 2 games on the weekend. But that time with her,
Oh.
and everybody kept saying, you know, oh, it goes by so fast, goes by so fast. And when we dropped her off at school in St. George, you know, underneath the sunglasses, because I literally was suddenly a man that had nothing to do for 40 weekends a year. And for 10 years with the academy and then 2 more locally, that's what my weekends were, right? And so what I do now just for me, I don't know. I mean,
You're just a big softy. I had no idea.
Oh, God.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we just, like I told you, my daughter, we just dropped her off. She went to COD and transferred over to Costa Mesa just recently, and she's our oldest. So back in September, we just did that. I mean, it was, and we are in the dorm, and I'm not ashamed to admit, we're crying. I'm proud, you know, as a father. You know, my wife is losing it, and we're just having that moment.
Did she get mad at you?
Mad at me?
Your wife.
Why would my wife get mad at me?
That's what I said. And yet there it was. Like this was somehow my fault.
My wife and I were both crying at you at NAU when we dropped our daughter off, and then COVID hit, and she was back home, and then we were crying again.
There you go. But it is.
There goes my home office.
Yeah, exactly.
There is something to that. So I mean, I get it, and you know, it's a thing.
Yeah,
so
when she wasn't crying, she was mad at me.
that's funny, actually.
I get blamed for a lot around there I have nothing to do with.
Yeah, you're like, why is that my fault?
Yeah.
So most people don't get this one, but I'm gonna fire anyway.
I'm gonna wager he's gonna have no clue what you're talking about.
Are you a DC or an MCU guy?
I do know.
Oh, man.
Because of my daughter. She has me fully versed in MCU.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Probably the first one that got it.
I can't watch the new Marvel coming out because I haven't finished the Sam Jackson thing on Disney Plus because she's not there to explain to me how these things are all connected.
That's a lot going on. I did watch that series. It's really good.
Yeah,
the Sam Jackson one.
The
It's
second
really good.
she was gone, I'm just like, I'm watching. I'm like, okay, well, how does he know that person?
There's so many. Yeah, there's a lot.
And then how it all relates back apparently to WandaVision, and I'm like,
That's another good one.
How does the Marvels relate to WandaVision? That one actress
You
who
gotta
played that role.
yes.
I need her there to tell me. So when she's home for Christmas, maybe we'll get caught up. So MCU is the answer to that
Love
question.
it. See?
See?
No judgments.
I'm blown away. I had no clue.
I don't think anybody else you've talked to has a teenager in the house the last
Clearly
few
not.
years.
They've been every person who sat there except for who was it that took a second and then they got it? I can't remember. But most guests are
Riker, because he's a teenager. Cole.
It was just all right. So who's your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man.
Nice.
Which, by the way, when they brought out the 2 old Spider-Mans,
How cool was that one?
Hot.
You nerded
that
out.
was so great.
Just nerded out. Like,
we
oh
had
my
some
God.
suspicion it was coming, but when it really happened, you're like,
This is cool.
this is great.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Yeah, they really did.
intertwining all that. What other profession, other than what you're doing right now, would you have liked to try or done?
So you're going to go James Lipton on me, huh?
Yes, that's for these. You're right. Yep.
What's your favorite curse word?
That's the next
That-
question.
What's your least favorite
Would you
sound?
stop? Would you stop? I didn't want to
Did
rip
you
him
really
off.
swipe from James Lipton?
Yes.
Really?
I love James Lipton. I grew up
those
watching
are-
him.
yeah, those are
Good
great.
job.
Those are
Yes, I was going to do that, but
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What other profession?
What I'd like to try.
Other, what you do?
I always kind of fancy myself a teacher. I love history. I'm a huge history buff. If I'd ever actually completed a degree of some kind,
you should have like 5 or 10 by now.
You'd think I should be a freaking doctor. A teacher. I'd like to be a teacher.
I could see that.
A history teacher.
I think you'd be a good one.
Because it's stories. If it's done right, it's not names and dates and places. It's stories.
It's stuff that actually happened to real people.
Yeah.
But it's also my uncle. He was a teacher in Gig Harbor. He retired. He was also and he did science, and he was also a wrestling coach, and he did some baseball. And he did one podcast I listened to recently, and he was asked that question. What about teaching? Was it that made you get involved? And He loved passing on knowledge, but also he had a personality for it. And I think to engage kids, and that was his biggest thing, is he knew that he had a personality that could engage, and he wanted to make it engaging. And so, having a personality on top of a love for it matters. And I think that's how you really have impact.
Yeah, and I was lucky. I hit a couple of really good history teachers in a row, which gave me a love for history. And then, so yeah, I could have. I could have.
You would have been great at it, man.
Oh,
I could see you
thanks.
doing that. All right. So what's your favorite curse word?
Fucker.
Right on.
Which I use way too much. Even Todd turned to me one time. He goes, "You got to stop swearing so much." I'm like, "Sorry, Todd." For a guy that lives on TV, yeah. But I don't know.
bad quick.
It's the ER that makes it work. For
Yeah.
me. Like fucker.
Just
I don't know. I like that.
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really sending a message on that.
And
I
by
think
now,
so.
look, if the parents don't know to turn the radio down for that question, it's on that.
Yeah, we usually do an advisory
it's
warning
on
on that
them.
one, but
It's on them.
they knew that was coming
Yeah.
because you kind of jumped the.
Yeah, I've been
jumped-
cussing through this whole thing. Yeah,
That's-
that's probably not great.
You're fine.
This podcast thing, people are doing it. A lot of them. No, I'm just kidding.
There's a couple out
Yeah.
there. I think there's a guy named Joseph something or Joe
Rogaine,
somebody. Yeah,
Rogaine,
something like
Rogan.
that. Yeah, he does okay.
Yeah.
So, well, Gino, I'll tell you what, man. Honestly,
dude.
thank you
Very
so much
cool to have you.
for
It was
being
my
out.
pleasure.
We asked this of all of our guests, but at some point down the road, would you be willing to come back and do this again?
No, absolutely not.
Fair enough.
Under no circumstances am I ever coming back here.
What if
again.
we got Grant to do it with you?
Oh, love it.
Even
No.
worse? Even
Love
worse?
it. You know,
Yes, of course. I'll come back
yeah.
anytime.
you're amazing.
right,
Seriously, I
Well,
really.
cool, man. Yeah, thank you.
Can we get a Go Birds from you?
Oh, yeah, we got to get a Go Birds.
Yeah, let's go. You ready?
Yep.
All of us or just me?
Just
you. We
Go Birds!
so good.
That's it.
Go
Done.
Birds.
Go Birds. All right. See ya. Well, that was fun. If you're enjoying the Firebirds Fan Zone podcast on YouTube, be sure to drop a comment down below and hit that like button. Also, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out when a new episode drops. The Firebirds Fan Zone podcast is available on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and a whole bunch of other podcast platforms. So however you get your weekly dose of the Firebirds Fan Zone podcast, we invite you to share it across all your socials. And you can follow us on Instagram at Firebirds Fan Zone Podcast. And on Facebook, just search, guess what? Firebirds Fan Zone Podcast. The Firebirds Fan Zone Podcast is brought to you by Kyle Garman Realtor. Whether you're buying or selling, whether it's for your forever home or that quiet desert vacation getaway, Kyle Garman and the team at Keller Williams have the experience and skill to make that process simple and convenient. Check them out today at kylegarman.kw.com. Our podcast is also brought to you by DesertDefenseLawyers.com, DUI and criminal defense throughout the Coachella Valley. The criminal justice system is scary and confusing, but relief is just a click away at DesertDefenseLawyers.com. We've been keeping folks out of the penalty box since 2008.